HCI was a symbol of economic self-reliance in the newly independent South Korea. The dream of HCI had been held by the Syngman Rhee and the Jangmyeon governments, and the Park Chung-hee government also had such aspirations. The key was to secure foreign currency. Normalizing relations with Japan and sending Korean forces to Vietnam would provide much of the funds required. In June 1965, the Korea-Japan Normalization Treaty was signed. This ensured that Korea would obtain $800 million in claimable funds. In addition, from 1965, with the development of South Korean forces to Vietnam, exports bound for Vietnam and contracts for freight and construction also increased. The salary of soldiers and workers also brought much foreign currency into the country. Thus, dollars began flowing into the country, and from the late 1960s, foreign capital flowed. The government used this foreign capital to finance the construction of a petrochemicals complex and an integrated steel works. In 1968, construction work began in Ulsan on 10 petrochemical-related facilities, with construction completed in 1972. As a result, the basic materials required in the industry were produced in much higher quantities. The government restarted efforts to build an integrated steelworks in 1965. After quite a few difficulties, with Herculean efforts, the largest project in Korean history was completed. June 1973, finally the dream of an integrated steelworks came true. In the 1970s, Park Chung-hee shifted from the aim from gradual heavy and chemical industrialization to a general push toward rapid HCI. A security crisis in the late 1960s and early 1970s led Park to seek to nurture a national defense industry. He also created the authoritarian regime so as to ensure he remained president for life. He set out plans to reach annual exports of $100 million by 1980 and GDP per capita of $1,000. From 1973, big investments were made in steel, shipbuilding, machinery, petrochemicals, electronic products, and non-ferrous metals. A massive investment in HCI led to what was called then as the biggest boom ever in Korean history. It was at this time two of South Korea's major industries. Cars and shipbuilding were built, with strong government encouragement. Its own car models were developed, and parts also made domestically. From the 1970s, the shipbuilding industry was also nurtured. With government support, the Korean Shipping Corporation built 20,000 to 30,000 ton ships, while the new company Hyundai Shipbuilding built 200,000 to 300,000 ton VLCCs. Amid difficult circumstances, workers and technicians successfully learned how to build ships. They greatly raised productivity, narrowing the gap with Japan. With the sudden death of Park Chung-hee in October 1979 and the resulting political crisis, the economic crisis the country faced also worsened. The new military dictatorship, led by Chun Doo-hwan, saw Park Chung-hee's HCI as the cause of the economic crisis. The government attempted to restructure electricity generation equipment and car industries, which were in a state of severe recession. It also ended government policies, which had targeted specific companies for preferential treatment in particular industries. These economic stabilization and rationalization policies resulted in rapid growth, returning in the early 1980s. And in 1986 to 88, the economy boomed. It was the car industry that expanded particularly rapidly in this period. In the early 1980s, Hyundai should be concentrated in small model cars, mass production for export. Hyundai, with the Pony XL car, took the U.S. market by storm. Exports increased rapidly. Since then, the Korean car industry, with constant improvements in performance and active marketing, has grown into the 5th largest worldwide. In the 1980s, another industry that succeeded was semiconductors. In 1983, Samsung's Lee Byung-chul designated semiconductors as a key industry for the firm and entered the DRAM market. In late 1983, when developing the first range of DRAM products, there was a 5-year development gap with the United States and Japan, but the gap was closed by November 1992. From 1993, South Korea became the #1 maker of semiconductor memory worldwide, and it was the third largest producer of semiconductors generally. Beginning with steel, petrochemicals, shipbuilding, all the way up to cars and electronics. HCI was the driving force behind Korea's economic rise. With the government leading the way, the ambition of industrialists, the ability of workers and engineers to learn, as well as their hard work, made HCI possible. HCI turned South Korea into a top 10 economy in the world, playing a crucial role in creating a better future.